Are you going to give us a cue, Abraham? You're muted.
Look like we're live.
Okay, we're live then.
Excellent. Thank you all so much for joining us today on the medical cannabis community as we host today a press conference and live town hall with State Representative Kathleen Willis as well as State Representative Shawn Ford. Today I am joined by our moderators Mark Pasekovich as well as Corryn Bradley, who will be helping us moderate and navigate this discussion that we explore today. Essentially, we will be covering the current events that are happening in social equity, the potential winners who are currently on the list for the lottery picks, as well as the experiences that some of the social equity applicants have had during this process. With that said, I'll pass over the mic over to Mark Pasekovich, who can help further introduce our special guest today.
Mark, we can't hear you.
And we will not hear you now. You're muted. No.
All right, let me,
Now we can hear you but not see you, so that's okay.
yeah. Well, on behalf of the medical cannabis community, I wanted to welcome everybody to this program. We have hundreds, if not thousands of people who are watching right now, so we will get this moving quickly. We wanted to thank Leader Willis and Representative Ford for their concern and their efforts, and the fact that they're making themselves available to the community, to cannabis consumers, to cannabis patients who all want to know what's going on, because ultimately it's them who are affected by this. With that, I will just mention that my colleague Corryn Bradley is going to be doing questions and playing traffic cop, so I will definitely defer to her leadership. And why don't we start with Leader Willis and your comments.
Thank you very much, Mark and Abraham and Corryn. So I am very happy to be part of this conversation. Sorry, my house phone is going to go off in between. But it is important for us to make sure that we work towards social equity. And one of the most important things we can do about that, don't you love how I was able to do that on Zoom, folks? But it is very important for us to make sure that when we pass the law last year, I guess it was in January, about expanding for recreational marijuana, we were sold and told very, very distinctly that Illinois was going to be on the forefront because we were not only going to have a very robust recreational marijuana community out there, we were going to go and purge many, many low-level cannabis crimes that people had on their record, but we were also going to expand and go even beyond that, and we were going to have a social equity piece to this. We were going to be the forefront. We were going to set the examples for the other states on how to make sure that we looked at the communities that had been mostly impacted by drugs, and we were going to go and work from those communities. We were going to work with minorities. We were going to work with women. We were going to work with veterans, and we were going to work with community members that had been impacted by drug abuse and low social economic issues in their communities, and expand and give them an opportunity to get a step up into this. This was going to be a wonderful opportunity to really help those that had been hurt the most. Well, this came through then last week, and we saw this. We were anticipating, obviously COVID slowed things down, but once we finally got this coming through, we were anticipating some really great results that we could hold up for the rest of the nation to see Illinois did something right. And unfortunately, we didn't see that. We did not see the social equity piece call into play, that so many of us that voted for this voted it because of that aspect, because of the call for the social equity component of the recreational marijuana, and we didn't see it. And we're questioning that. And that's what we're doing now. So when Representative Ford talked to me over the weekend and said, look, we've got to take this a step further. We cannot just sit back and be quiet. He and I got together. We composed a letter to the governor's office saying, look, something's not right. It didn't go the way it was supposed to do. It was not, this is not the legislative intent. And as a leader in the state legislature right now, and as with Representative Ford being a veteran legislator, we felt it was our responsibility to reach out to the governor's office and to his staff and say, look, we need to slow down. We need to get it right. One of the most important things I want to make sure that people do understand, I am not telling the 21 winners that they did not deserve their license. I am sure that many of them did everything right. But I also look at, there were 700 applications that came through, and I cannot believe that only 21 qualified for it. And that's my biggest concern. So we're not saying throw out those 21. We're saying we need to expand this field and make it a level playing field. We need to look at what happened, who came in, how the determination was. We also have a huge concern about the company that did the scoring. That was a no-bid contract that was awarded there. Why did that happen? Maybe they were the only ones qualified. But we need transparency back as the legislatures. We want to make sure that we have better transparency. These questions are answered certainly before we go on any further. And that's what we're looking to do. So that is why Representative Ford and myself are here today. You have all seen our press release that went through. I believe both of us have also put out a copy of the letter that we sent to the governor's office for you to review, and we're hoping to get some answers there. LaShawn, I hope I didn't take all your words from you, but it's now, we'll see what you can add to that and make sure that you do understand that this is something that is not necessarily a Black community concern, not necessarily a Latino community concern. It is an all community concern, and that's where we want to approach it from. So thank you so much for a couple of minutes of your time. Representative Ford, it's you.
Leader Willis, and I just want to right away say I want to congratulate all the people in the state of Illinois that participated in this changing industry in Illinois and spent their hard-earned money. Many of them spent their life savings to chase a dream. And we want to do everything that we can in Illinois to protect that dream and make sure that the governor understands that we are partners in this and that this is our attempt to get it right. This is not us against the governor and his administration. This is us for a strong Illinois and for real equity in Illinois. So today we're here, Kathleen Willis, Representative Willis, and myself, we're here because the people have spoken. The people are concerned in Illinois about equity in the cannabis field. We got calls to our office, and we have been asked to stand up for the people. The administration needs to answer the concerns and the questions about why only 21 companies reached the lottery round to receive 75 cannabis dispensary license in Illinois, and whether social equity has really been achieved. That's what we're here for. We're here to make sure that the governor knows that we're on his team to make sure social equity has been achieved. And what have we done since the confusion has come out? Representative Willis and I, we sent a letter with the support of members on this Zoom, people that have given us the information that we need to make sure that we pen the proper letter to the governor. It's not what we know as legislators, but it's us working with the people, and many of them on this Zoom and many of them probably watching. And so we asked the governor through a letter that Representative Willis and I sent. We asked for a meeting with the top administration officials before the final tie-breaking lottery is held. We have not gotten that meeting yet. We will continue to push. We're very grateful that the lottery did not take place today, and we're holding out hope that even if we don't get that meeting with the governor's administration, we will still be in strong communication with the governor's office and working to make sure that we are leaning toward that North Star of social equity in Illinois. We applaud the governor's goal of creating a social equity cannabis program, but we know that it has fallen short of that goal. So we continue to push and we will not let up. So there was supposed to be the promotion and promote social equity in marijuana industry and create opportunities for small entrepreneurs, but it has not happened, and it will not happen without the support of individuals on this call and people listening. We cannot let up. It has to be our voices heard in Illinois to make sure that we are a model as we set out to be. We cannot let our very people that spent their life savings, many, or investment money that they could have invested in something more fruitful and more possible to achieve than a lottery that was probably not attainable in the first place. And so we asked the governor, as the governor of Illinois, please have a real due process for people so that they don't have to go to court to spend money. It's unnecessary for our taxpayers and the social equity candidates to have to spend money in court to fight for justice when we can have that social equity justice and a due process in place in Illinois through the governor's administration. So we want the governor to make sure that he keeps this out of court and help the people that are trusting in him as the leader of this state to be clear, transparent, and give them confidence that this is something that they could believe in, knowing that it is a chance that they will not win. When you get involved in investments, we know there's risk, but people want real risk. Real risk means that there was an opportunity for you to achieve your goal that you set out, and that's what we want. So among key questions that we are asking as legislators, and not just Representative Willis and myself, but many members in the Black and Latino caucus, and even my colleague Marty Moreland. He's very strong and he's on our side. We want to know, KPMG, why was there a no bid contract to KPMG that effectively scored the applications? Was that process reviewed, and did anyone from KPMG have any financial conflicts? Also, was there minority participation in the contract? Did KPMG have previous cannabis scoring experiences? And the lottery. Did the state consider holding off on the lottery announcement when it found out only 21 companies were chosen for 75 licenses? And is there still time to stop the tiebreaker process? And scoring. Will the administration release all scoring charts, instructions given to KPMG, as well as their scoring rubrics and materials, deficiency notices, and emails related to the process? And did the administration review the KPMG scoring? Did the state consider hiring other people beside the no bid contract to make sure that we had a fair process? With all that, I think that the governor had full intention to do right by the people of Illinois. There's nothing for him to gain by doing the people of Illinois wrong and not having a process that is fair and equitable. But we know this process fell short of that. And now it's the governor's opportunity to say that he wants to get it right. And we will not move forward until we know that the process that we have in place is fair, equitable, and we will have true social equity in cannabis in Illinois. Thank you so very much, and we look forward to this press conference continuing, and afterwards, the Zoom meeting.
Thank you very much to both of our legislators. You speak the truth that a lot of people here want to hear. Just speaking on behalf of the medical cannabis community, the sentiment that I heard a lot over the last few days is that when it came to COVID, the governor was heroic. He was getting sued all over the place. And he didn't let the courts or the lawyers stop him. He stood on principle and saved lives. We hope he thinks this principle here is worth standing on also and doing the right thing. Corryn, did you have questions from the media in queue?
As of right now, most of our questions are actually speaking to the awarding and the process of awarding. We actually haven't received a question yet from the media in terms of how they're feeling about the awarding, but let me see if I can.
Well, and let me supplement because
I do have one. So this one will be towards Representative Ford and Representative Willis. What corrective action or what corrective legislative actions do you guys plan on taking during veto, or will you be taking actions during veto session?
Okay, so one, we will be working with this body, and we will have everything in place as we meet with the social equity applicants to make sure that we're able to respond appropriately. We do have a outline of about 8 points that we have heard from the social equity applicants that they believe will be helpful with a trailer bill. We will talk about those coming up, all of the 8 that we have ideas about, but it's not complete because we haven't heard and we haven't met with all of those interested parties so that we can have a thorough trailer bill to make sure that true social equity is achieved in this process. There's no need to rush it right now because we're not going to Springfield until November and 17th, but there are some points that we will address after during the Zoom, the 8 points that we know of right now.
Right, that's exactly right. We're going to be looking at what we're hearing today to help form those things that we feel need to be fixed in here. We're going to continue to reach out to those that want to hear their response onto it, what was right in the application process, what they felt could have been changed more so. And certainly those that did not get into the finalists, what could we have done to help put more companies in there? And I think one of the most important things, and I believe the governor actually mentioned it yesterday when he was questioned, is maybe we need to limit how many licenses each person can get awarded. That doesn't necessarily mean they can't apply for more, but maybe they get limited to how many they can actually end up at the end of the day. Because we know from working down in Springfield and when this bill was first introduced, the intent was not to have these great big corporations have all of these satellite dispensaries all over. It was truly the intent was to have a lot of community dispensaries owned by people that lived right in the community so that they were vested in those communities, and that's what we wanted to see. And if we allow a corporation to have 10 licenses, that's going to be 9 other different communities groups that would not, community members that would not been able to get a license. And so we need to look at that. Definitely would probably be cutting down the 10 to a much more smaller number.
And some points that we've gotten already, I'll tell you that they have not been vetted, but they are points that individuals have given us so that you know. 1, 75 new licenses are created, which must go to genuine social equity applicants. We will know what that means, what a true social equity applicant is. So do we really have a true definition in law about social equity and what it means? We have to look at that and make sure that we do. 2, no person or application shall be deemed social equity if they have not lived in a distressed community for 10 years. These are ideas that we have. They're not in writing right now, but they're ideas that we have. 3, social equity applicants must be a current resident of Illinois. 4, any unsuccessful social equity applicant under the first bill shall receive all of their expenses back from the state. 5, no person or application shall be deemed social equity based on a promise to hire. 6, veteran status shall not outweigh any other social equity criteria. 7, the new licenses must be given out at the same time as those in the current lottery. And 8, social equity applicants can only apply for a limited number of licenses. So those are just ideas, and that's the way bills become law. They start with ideas, and that's where we're at right now. So add your ideas.
Fantastic. We also have another question in from Mike Foucher at Grown In. So the governor's office, so this had been reported, the governor's office held results for the tiebreakers for 11 days. Do you guys have a comment on that?
I'm not sure where that information came from, so I'm not able to verify it at all. I know that it was held for a while because they were not sure how to go about doing a tiebreaker. And so I think that was something they had not anticipated, the tiebreaker, and so they were scrambling to try to get that. I don't know how long it was actually held, and I can understand part of that is the beginning, but again, being that this was the first time around, I think I am extremely concerned and disappointed in the lack of transparency. Let's leave it at that. I think the lack of transparency all around needs to be addressed as we go forward.
Okay, thank you. And so Tom Shuba with the Sun-Times has asked, are you calling for a review of KPMG's no bid contract with the Agricultural Department? And do you think an open bidding process should be opened up to have another firm review those applications while the review of KPMG's grading of the dispensary license is conducted?
Of course, KPMG has always been the corporate in this, and the state gave them a no bid contract with the expectation that there would be no improprieties, that it would be fair, that it would be just, and that they would have the ability and the experience to do this in the best way possible. And we know that they fell short. So it's up to the governor now and all of us to call the question KPMG. And that's what we have to do. Leader Willis.
Yeah, I agree. I think that we need to open that up to look at it. The lack of transparency and why they were given a no bid. Again, it goes back into there. What made them better than anybody else? Well, we don't know because we don't know. There was no bid. There was nobody else that applied to actually look at it. And that is something that is concerning all around. I'm not saying that they wouldn't have won the bid, but it's certainly something that we need to make sure that we have better transparency, certainly going forward. And I would support having somebody look at that as to why that was awarded the way it was. Mark, you're trying to talk. Go ahead.
Mark, you got to go off and come back like you did before.
Sorry, Mark, we can't hear you.
Sorry about that. Can you hear me now?
Oh, yeah, a little better.
Excellent. Just a question. We're waiting on other questions. I wanted to just on the medical cannabis community. There's hundreds of comments about how a staff person of KPMG in Chicago was an investor in one of the successful application teams. That's now been reported by the Chicago Sun-Times. It actually, Abraham Villegas, the head of the medical cannabis community, posted the screenshots of that applicant's screen page about 3 days ago, and that's what caused the guy to wipe him in the first place. The bottom line here is this. So you had the state of Illinois, you had KPMG, lots of really, really smart people with access to lots of resources. These things get announced, these decisions get announced. 30 seconds after, or 30 minutes after the winners are posted, the first comments start coming in from sort of citizen researchers about a connection between KPMG and one of the applicants. It didn't take long, but so I guess my question to you is, do state employees have access to Google is one question. The other question is, does KPMG have access to Google? And a corollary there is, if you're KPMG and you're in this position now, what do? You do you claim incompetence or malfeasance?
Well, Mark, my understanding about the employee, and this is just what I have read through Google and a variety of things, that KPMG has approximately 200,000 employees. My understanding also is that this one employee had absolutely nothing to do with the scoring. So if that is true, I might be open to giving them a little bit of a pass on that. Now, again, I put that as if that is true, and that there was no impropriety done in the scoring, just saying, oh, KPMG, you know, looking at the name and maybe somebody knew somebody who knew somebody. And that's something that I truly am concerned about. But I think if you Google, yeah, we can find all sorts of things on Google. You know, I have a master's degree in library science, and before I switched to here, I often warned my students about what you could find on the internet and take it all with a grain of salt. So yes, you can Google and you can find things, but oftentimes as you research it more, it's either a lot worse than you thought or not as bad as you thought. And so I think we need to be open-minded as we go forward and look for better transparency and have those questions answered by KPMG and this person. We get that oftentimes when we vote on any bill in the House. What is your connection on it? Is there something in there that truly connects you? Well, we all have specialties on where we come from, so we do have a lot of connections, but that doesn't mean that that's affecting the vote or the score. So, Shawn, did you want to add anything, or did I cover that okay?
I think you covered it well, later. Thank you so much.
Corryn, any other questions coming in online?
We do actually, we have a lot of questions about the KPMG issue. I think just giving an overall statement to that, I know that we do not have answers in regards to all of those things and sort of the intricacies of that right now. But if we wanted to segue into the town hall, I would like to give our social equity applicants that were not awarded a chance to speak. If that is okay with everyone.
Statement before we do that, Mark, if we could just say, since there are a lot of questions about KPMG, they received a taxpayer contract. They need to come out and speak to the public. They're a corporation, they're a company. There's nothing wrong with them holding a press conference today immediately to explain what processes they used. Because right now, as much as it is the governor's choosing of who he picked, it's their responsibility, and they owe the taxpayers of Illinois explanation. And we put the pressure on the governor. The buck stops with him, of course, but KPMG, they owe Illinois an explanation. And I think that we should demand that they come out and speak about their process and any improprieties that they could shoot down and say it's not true. They can't hide behind their website.
Release information. Don't just use your words. Show us. Don't tell us. There's one last question from Tom Schuba, and I wanted to make sure that we get that in since he got it under the wire. Corryn, did you want to do that one? Or I will. Let me do it. From Tom Schuba, are you calling on the state to provide more information about the principal officers of all 21 groups in the lottery?
Yes, we are. We want to make sure that our definition of social equity matches what KPMG's definition of social equity means. And that means looking into who truly are the officers of these corporations that won the bids. Are they in name only, or are they actually operating officers? That's truly important to us. And we've seen that there are some, star names in some of these that we question, did they just fall into the category because they were African American, Hispanic, women, veterans, or are they actually investors and going to be part of the day in, day out operations of these dispensaries once they get up and running? And that's truly important for us to look at.
And
We've seen too much abuse in the past to just take it on paper.
And if we don't get these answers before the licenses are announced, then it's too late. And so it's better that we know up front if there's true social equity in the ownership of these licenses. So yes, we do, and we have asked for that, Representative Willis and I. So we continue to push that. And I'm very happy that we could say that publicly, that it came not just from us, but it was a push from the people.
Great. Also, okay, perfect. This is fantastic. Thank you guys so much. And thank you for your address. If we want to move into hearing from some of our social equity candidates, I would love to start that. If we could begin with Nonna Knapp, if you wouldn't mind unmuting yourself and just giving us a couple of details about what happened during your application.
Sure. We applied for 2 licenses only. We are a group of 3 principal officers. I'm speaking on behalf of our group. We applied as a social equity applicants, and obviously we did not fall into the lottery. So we did a FOIA request right away. The same day we did a FOIA request. We received our scores because I wanted to see what happened. I was very much surprised what I saw. So we received a deficiency, a 10-day notice deficiency earlier in the process. KPMG, that was another thing I had a concern about, that the deficiency came directly from KPMG, did not come from IDFPR. And if this is a truly blind process, how is it that KPMG had all of our information? So we had to actually sign up for KPMG's upload area of KPMG to upload all the information that we had to provide them. So I had a concern. We even called our attorney to find out. We asked if that's okay that we do that, because it's supposed to be a blind process. Yet they had all of our information. So obviously it wasn't a blind process. So they wanted us to confirm our social equity status, which we did. We originally provided them with 5 years of tax returns, driver's license. In addition, we then provided them with voter registration card, couple of bills, a paycheck stub, and what else? Oh, and we also provided them with a few other items. So they have plenty of information. So when we saw the score, obviously it was either missed,
You actually say
incompetence, or maybe it was, I don't know. I honestly, I can't answer that question.
Nonna, did you get any points for social equity?
I did not. In addition to that, I received some really strange points taken out. Like 1 point was taken out in Exhibit D, which is agent training. 1 point was taken out in recall's quarantine plan, and 5 points were taken out in my security plan. This is 1 point out of 15. Let's see, 1 point out of 16, and then 5 points out of 48. We did another FOIA request because we would like to know why 1 point was taken out of those particular exhibits.
All right, thank you very much. Corryn, who do we have up next?
Next, we would love to hear from Greg Owens.
Good afternoon. I'm Gregory Owens. I am 40 Acres and a Mule. Just a quick, brief synopsis of our group. We are family, friends, usually one arm's length. We formed a consortium amongst our immediate friends to form about 8 entities to go after 60 retail applications. We did focus on every BLS as well. We are fortunate enough to have family experience that's been in cannabis from out west for at least 10 years previous with writing the application process. So with that being said, we were definitely shocked by not even having one of our entities included in any of the BLSs. Now, my family member, Ingrid, who is our mastermind behind our project, I would have to say is most disappointed because she's put thousands of hours and days into this process. And the team that we brought on board, I mean, we built a corporation of sort with grabbing industry professionals from other industries. I myself am a communications engineer from the telecommunications world. We have IT professionals, we have retired CPS professionals and educators, and we've also incorporated some grassroots organizations to help with the learning curve that would be happening here in the cannabis arena. And we've also developed an education for growing and teaching those about the medical components of it, as well as the negative side effects of it. So I must say I was extremely disappointed when we weren't even concluded in not any BLSs, and only 21 firms were chosen for all 75 licenses. If anything, you know, I'm okay with winning and losing. I'm ready to play, but it just seemed a little unfair if that would be the case. So, you know, I'm just hoping that there is an opportunity for us to make a change at legislation for the lottery. Quite honestly, I would love to see the winning applications for comparison. And I'm also wondering why there was a perfect application floating around the city. And even with that being said, that one perfect application that won for someone else failed for the other person. So that's a question that I have as well. Mark, I think you're muted.
Thanks, Corryn. Who's up next?
Next, we have Robiere and Saran. If you guys would like to speak to what happened with your application.
You're muted, Saran.
Sorry, I just wanted to do what Mark did. My name is Saran Howell, and Robiere Hill, who's also in my group, is on the call as well. So my group makes up, just like Greg just mentioned, we're family. My sister, my sister's wife, and my husband are part of our group. And let me just first congratulate the 21 finalists, because I'm sure they had great applications. But we are a social equity, minority, women-owned organization that also put in a comprehensive application. And just like all of the social equity applicants here, we put in countless hours, all while working full-time jobs. And we also put together a lot of resources. We were part of an incubator team. We consulted with various lawyers, various industry leaders around submitting the best application that we could. But we understood that there were going to be winners, there were going to be losers, and all the hours that we did put in, it was so worth it, because we really felt like we had a shot, and we really felt like Illinois was going to get it right. We even went to City Hall to speak on the fact that they were doing it right. But I think they realized too that they fell short just a little bit. You know, the scoring was flawed. It was impossible to get a perfect score without having a veteran that was a majority owner. And those veterans, I mean, I love veterans and I appreciate everything they do for our country, but they weren't affected like the social equity applicants were supposedly by the war on drugs. The veterans, like I said, they do great for our country, but what the state tried to do for the social equity applicants failed, in my opinion, because there was a perfect score, and to achieve that, you had to have the majority owner for the veteran. And I want to see the states get it right, because I know they wanted that. Illinois wanted to be leaders in this, and I understand that, and I can appreciate it. But there's something that can be done now. We don't have to let the 75 licenses go and then do something about it later. There's something that can be done now, and I think we earned it. We deserve it to take a second look at this thing and say, hey, what can we do now to rectify this? So I hope that happens. Thank you.
Thank you, Saran.
Oh, I have to mute.
It's okay. Hi, this is Robiere Hill, Saran Howell's business partner. I don't see myself. Oh, I'm up, okay. And so just like she said, I think we believe that the state has the ability to right this wrong. I'm a WBE-owned, minority-owned construction company firm, and I've had to go through the rigors of the licensing and the certification process. And so that lets me know that the state alone knows how to assess who's truly a social equity applicant, because I've experienced it before. And, you know, I had to go through interviews. I had to go through, you know, an extreme process. And so I do believe in my heart that the state is truly interested in righting the historical wrongs that drugs have brought to disadvantaged communities. And I think they have the resources to do so. And so we're just going to remain hopeful, and we're a glass half full kind of team. And we're going to, you know, wish for the best and know that they are going to get this right. And they are going to set the example for the nation. Our team is majority from disproportionately impacted areas. And we've spent the majority of our lives investing in those communities and living in those communities and giving back to those communities. And it's time that we see the reward for that. So thank you guys so much for supporting us, doing this town hall, and having our backs. We really appreciate all of your work and all of your efforts.
Thank you so much for your comments. We really appreciate it. And now if we could move on to Denice Martin. Denice, if you could unmute yourself and talk about what happened during your application.
Hello, can everyone hear me? I'm Denice Martin. Thank you for allowing me to participate in this town hall meeting. I'm speaking on behalf of Holy Smokes LLC. We're in Southern Illinois. I'm retired federal government, retired from Homeland Security and Customs and Border Protection. I, at one time, worked with KPMG, and I know that as a financial director, that they should have did a request for proposal. KPMG should have given full disclosure. If anyone in their company was in that area, they should know about it, because they all have to fill out a financial disclosure. So I think that needs to be looked at, because they are one of the big five, and they should act like one of the big five. As far as Holy Smokes LLC, we are friends and family from Southern Illinois in the St. Clair County, East St. Louis, Missouri side, right near Missouri. And we only have 4 licenses to share from 7 counties. So right there, I think that how they divided the licenses up between all of Illinois, the 75 licenses, it's heavily loaded in Chicago. I think that needs to be dispersed a little bit more than what it was. We hired a consultant, one of the, that came very highly recommended to us, and that has an 80% rate of getting her companies through this process with different states. And we had a social equity person, and like Nonna, they sent us, KPMG did, out of the little portal, a discrepancy, which really wasn't a discrepancy. They were trying to confirm that our social equity, which was already in the package. So we had to resend her license. We had to resend her voter's registration. We sent a deed to the house that she's owned for over 15 years. We sent tax records for over 5 years. We sent a slew of information to show that this person was social equity and owned 51% of this company. Yet we are still trying to get our results. We have not received any of our scores. We are getting ready to go the forward route, but that should not be the case. If you're going to tell us that you have awarded 75 licenses to 21 companies, you could at least give the rest of the people enough respect to let them know that they did not get awarded and give them their score. We shouldn't have to go hide and seek for anything at this point. And we had a minority, several minorities. All of us were minorities, but we also had women. We had one white woman, all relatives, and we had 3 veterans. Veterans are important. Veterans are our war fighter, and they earned the right. We had veterans that are disabled, veterans that are coming back from the war with PTSD, and they need the cannabis for whatever reason. So I'm not going to shoot veterans down and make them any less than the people that live in social equity deprived areas. They all should be given the chance. But we are very concerned. Needless to say, we are just in shock. We are still in shock because we threw everything. We threw the machine at this. We threw all of our money. We threw all of our resources. What we didn't have, we took out a loan to get, because we knew we had a shot at this. And we were hoping that Illinois would be the state to make this right. I can't say nothing about what the governor did know and what the governor didn't know. But from what I can see, because KPMG was a sole source and there was no RFP, or request for proposal, something is wrong with how this all panned out. Something is wrong further investigation needs to be done. And I don't think it should go any further as far as giving those 21 that won their license until we make this right for everybody.
Corryn, I have to say something. Ms. Martin, you have revealed something that I don't think many of us knew. Many times when people start a business, they do take out loans to make sure that their business is successful and that they have a chance. What you just said is, you know that people have taken loans out to be successful at a process that appears to be flawed. That is devastating because the loan is still due.
Now we're trying to hustle and get together and pay this loan off and then praying. And I believe in God. And I believe that with you two representatives on this call today, you are showing us that you are concerned about this. You are showing us that you have our best interest at mind. And I'm believing that you are going to go there and fight for us. You are our voice, and I'm believing that your voice is going to be heard based on what you are hearing from us. But I'm upset, and I'm hoping I'm not hollering, but I'm upset. And everyone that's with me is upset. I mean, people, this was their dream, not just my company, Holy Smokes, but all the other companies that haven't even gotten enough respect to say thank you. All they did was took our hard-earned money, and now the door has been closed. We are demanding that this door be reopened, and we are demanding that something be done before September the 24th. I know there's an injunction out there. I know there's a lawyer out there with several plaintiffs that have joined to try to stop this. And we are even trying to communicate with that lawyer to get our name in that bucket. So there's more money, more resources that we're spending because we're not one of those companies that were, we even seen where companies were going out on LinkedIn trying to hire a social media, a social equity person so that they could get in the running. The company is not necessarily social equity, but they hired somebody to be that face. And so you can feel my frustration. I know you can, and I'm speaking for everybody, not just Holy Smokes, but for every single company out there, every single minority that's out there, every single person that was out there that threw everything they had, every single penny, now they trying to figure out how to pay it back. I'm speaking for all of them. We need your help on this, and thank you for hearing from us.
Ms. Martin, thank you very much for sharing with us today. All I can tell you is if that door is closed, we're going to open up a window for you. We're going to work on it for you as best we can.
Thank you so much for that, Ms. Martin and Representative Willis. That's the kind of energy we're trying to carry into this. As we segue, I would also like to introduce Chantal Grant. Ms. Grant, if you wanted to speak to your story.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for having me today. I think everyone pretty much answered, just pretty much spoke on the concerns we have as applicants. We clearly understand that this system is, of course, flawed, and there is a huge, there's negligence on this application process. And I think that the state has to be transparent about this. The contracted company has to be transparent about it. And I believe that, personally, I think that, you know, going into phase 2, it should be for free, you know. That might be something that might be an option. I also believe that, because here's the deal. We were, as an applicant, they requested, and I'm sure this happened with other companies, other applicants as well. They requested for a security plan in which we already submitted. They requested things that we already submitted. And this has not only happened to our group, but other groups. So my thing is that I don't know if there is a sure disorganization with this process, and it has to be addressed. And with negligence comes transparency, and we have to address that to where we are allowed a second chance because of this. And so everyone is pretty much upset, you know, and I think that for us, like State Representative Ford said, for us to be a partnership, you know, we have to feel that we are working together to truly achieve the social equity solutions that we're trying to come up with. Another thing is there were applicants that submitted, you know, 10 applications, 10, 7, 8, 9, 10 applications. And the thing about this is that when you look at social equity, you know, people spend their last on this. And so 10 applications, you know, 25,000, 2,500 times 10 is really a big deal. So you have to think, who are submitting these applications? What players are really in this process with submitting these applications? Then we have incubators, you know, big players that are incubating social equity players, you know, in exchange for equity, real equity. So my thing is that, did we really achieve the goals that were set? I don't believe so. So I think that we have to address not only, you know, what the legislators are trying to propose, but just what, you know, the major concerns of the applicants. And I believe that the lottery, you know, they really have to address that before the lottery. So I thank both you all, state reps, for having me. And I hope that, you know, the state recognizes this and we can come to a solution.
Thank you so much for that, Ms. Grant. Hearing from our final speaker, Dionne Foreland. Ms. Foreland, can you speak to what happened with your application?
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Dionne Foreland, and our team consisted of 5 individuals that gave back to our community, that gives back to our community, and that has 20 plus years of experience in operating home health agencies, managing multi-million-dollar revenues, and has extensive experience in federal and state regulations, dealing with Medicare and Medicaid reimbursements. So we had a lot of experience for our application. And our cannabis company qualified as a social equity due to our residences in economically disadvantaged areas. We were given a 10-day notice deficiency due to, for the social equity part of the application, and we submitted everything that we needed to submit for that. We submitted leases that for the places that was rented out in the areas. We submitted bank statements. We submitted insurance. We submitted voter registrations. We submitted everything that we needed. And as of today, we don't know what our score is. So I was very disappointed that our company was not awarded a conditional license, because I really believe that we had a better chance of winning due to the social equity aspect. We applied in Missouri for medical. That process didn't include the social equity aspect. So that's why I really believe that we had an opportunity for Illinois. But during this process, we applied for 2 regions. We applied for Missouri and we applied for Chicago. And both of the regions we were denied. So that's considered like a 3rd denial under our belts. And that's very discouraging. So a few things that's discouraging for me is, first of all, we haven't received our scores. So we don't know what our scores are. The Missouri application gave us our scores, and we scored pretty close, but we didn't make the cut. But at least we were provided with our scores, and we was able to evaluate our downfalls and our positives and how well we did. But we're not even afforded that opportunity at this moment. It's also discouraging that we do not see the smaller companies within, we're not effectively or appropriately represented, the smaller companies that give back to the communities that we serve. And it's also not a good feeling to not have trust in a scoring system that may not award scores based on business experience or the owners or the team capabilities. And one last thing, I've been reading a lot of articles and following this, and one statement that kind of stuck out to me with reading some of these articles is that it was in the Mike Meltich article, and he didn't state it, but the governor, someone from the governor's administration stated that ensuring equity in this industry is a marathon and not a sprint. But quite frankly, we've been running this marathon for a long time. So when are we going to reach our goals? So again, I thank you guys for allowing me to speak today, and I'm hoping that, you know, we get some positive effects from this. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that, Foreland. The question I want to know, if you email or call the department, will they send you your score? Is it that simple?
Okay, well, I did email them yesterday evening, and it seemed like I just got like a response that was computer regulated, computer generated.
So for the viewers,
nothing about the score, nothing about we can get you your score or anything. It was just computer generated response.
So you asked for your score from the department, and you have not gotten your score. Any other applicants apply, and have you gotten your score after just asking? So you could unmute and.
We submitted our email, I believe, yesterday morning to find out what our scores would be. So we're still waiting for that now.
Hallwell?
We also tried to, like Dionne said, we got a recording, automated message. We are still trying to reach out and get someone to help us get our scores.
Same thing with our group. We contacted IDFPR. We got a computer generated response. So that's why we went the FOIA route. But I just want to mention one other thing, if I may.
Oh, yes.
Go for it.
Can I?
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
We applied for the medical in 2015, and it was a much better process. It was very transparent. All the scores were published. Every single group. There were 246 applicants, I believe, and it was very transparent. Everyone's score was published, including the bonus round, who submitted the bonus round and who didn't. And it was done in-house by IDFPR. If they could do 245 applications, why couldn't they do 600 applications? And now, how do we remedy all the mistakes that were made?
Question for you, Nonna, that actually has come in from a viewer. When you requested the FOIA for your scores, did you get a numerical score only, or did you get an explanation for the points lost?
No explanation for the points. So we did another FOIA, which we're still waiting for a response. We did a second FOIA to explain why certain points were taken out. I probably didn't mention earlier, we ran a dispensary for 3+ years in Illinois. So we were dispensary owners for 3 years. We know this stuff inside and out. Every 3 months, we had to go through IDFPR inspection. Once a month, we had to go through Illinois State Police inspection. So I was very shocked to see the security points were taken out, since I don't know why. I don't understand why. So I would like an explanation why those points were taken out. Is it a glitch in the system? Is it, I don't know what the reason is, but I really, really would like to know the reason why the points, everyone would like to know the reason why their points were taken out. I've spoken to another group who submitted licenses, they same experience, exactly. 2 points were taken out here, 1 point was taken out there, and they don't understand it either.
I think that's the main issue.
But is there a remedy, some kind of a remedy for all these mistakes? And again, if this was an anonymous process, it was obviously not very anonymous since KPMG sent all these emails to all the applicants to confirm all the information. So how could it be anonymous? Where did they get all the information? How did they know who these applicants were?
Kind of stuff that makes you wonder, does it not?
I don't understand.
Saran, I saw that your cat was trying to be the star of the show, and mine was too, so I share your pain, although we should just let him. There we go. See, that's beautiful. That is a cause we can all get behind. But I also thought that you might have wanted to say something. Were you going to jump in? Corryn, I'm sorry to.
No, you're good.
I only wanted to add that we too submitted to get our scores, but haven't received them yet. We did it on Friday. That's all I wanted to add.
I guess I'm just wondering, did the state of Illinois not expect that people would want their scores?
And which is ironic because they asked for so much transparency when we put the application together, and now we're not given that same courtesy.
I just want to say, and at the risk of being crass, when I worked with my application clients, it felt like a sort of an application colonoscopy. It was very, very, very detailed, and they expected truth and disclosure, and we want it now, and we're not going to answer your questions, and because we told you so, and hop and get it. To have this back, as I said, I don't feel bad for my paying clients because they'll live to fight another day, but the clients who I helped for free, it just brings me.
Well, and I think one of the things that we're hearing from people right now, and this is, I've been looking at the chat and the questions back and forth on stuff. Obviously, the transparency on the scores. Obviously, I think one of the things as we go through, Representative Ford and I will probably make sure that we include in any cleanup legislation, but making sure that there is an appeal process. Even the best scorer can make a mistake and misread something when they've asked you for this additional information and aren't giving you credit for it. Is it because they didn't see it right or didn't interpret it the right way? We need to have that face-to-face appeal process in place in there. And I think another thing that we're seeing is because these are humans that are doing the score, it's not just put in with a Rubik's in a machine and that's doing it. There should be a level. Nonna, I think you're a perfect example. You missed, 6 or 7 points, and that kicks you totally out of it. And it's only 1 point here and 1 point there. And maybe and I think someone else brought it up later on a chat that they had 2 applications that were put in, scored by 2 different people, basically the same information, and one got a perfect score, or one got 1 score and one got another score because it was 2 different people that looked at that. That's why maybe having a level of it, so, everybody that was only missed 10 points or less gets to go in the first round so that we know something like that. I think that makes much more sense than just say only all perfect. Well, was that, it'd be interesting to see the scorers. Is it a certain scorer that is more lenient than somebody else? And that's something, again, when we're talking about transparency and actually doing a deep dive into how these scores got put into place. To me, that's something I would look at. That goes back to my school board days of trying to look at what our test scores actually mean from year to year. I don't care what a third grade person is this year and the third grade person is next year. It's more important, what is that third grader looking at fourth grade? Is there growth? And so that's the same type of mentality I'm using on this, as we need to see where are the deficiencies, who scored it, how did it come through, and looking at levels. And I think that's something we're going to have to definitely look at for cleanup, right, La Shawn?
Yeah, and make sure, because this isn't like math where we know 2 + 2 is 4. You have people that's actually determining whether or not there's a perfect score. Do we know for a fact that it is very clear how to get a perfect score? And if a person could really, if there's a need for an appeal, what's going to be the guidelines? And so that's what we have to do, is make sure that we're clear on the guidelines. And I've heard from Mark and others, the Showman Group, Corryn, that one of the biggest problems is that taxpayers and the people that are questioning the process should not have to spend their money in court for due process. And I heard Representative Willis say that we have to have a process in place for review. The court shouldn't be the place where you just went into debt, as Ms. Martin said, to try to get a business, and then now you have to go to court, hire a lawyer for due process when we can have it in-house. And that has to be part of our plan.
I have one other thing. I know that Illinois is a state that's suffering financially and trying to get back on track. And that's another question that I would bring to you is, especially with them suffering financially, you generally don't take the first company and give them $4 million to do an audit. You do a request for a proposal, you look at each one of those companies, and then you pick the one that comes in with the lowest bid, help to save the state money, but at the same time, get what you need. So it's just something funny there as to why the state would go with KPMG at $4 million without entertaining anyone else, and give up $4 million so freely when you're trying to get yourself back on track as a state that is suffering financially. Thank you.
Oh, Mark, we can't hear you.
Any requests from media?
Yeah, are there any other questions from the media?
We, as of right now, it does not look like we have any questions from the media. I don't know if Abraham wanted to, or if there was anything on that end, but we actually have gotten a lot of questions wondering whether you will call for a moratorium on licenses until some of these are addressed, or the legislators plan on addressing that.
So there will be next steps, and we should talk about those next steps right now. You want to go for it, Mark, Corryn, about the next steps? Of course, we're going to host another Zoom meeting with applicants. We've already called on the governor to hold the licenses and not run the lottery. He said that legally he cannot, and he must move forward with the lottery. Mark has an update from the court today. And that court was what, Mark, that the IDPF, the department?
I think it's not really an update, and I certainly wouldn't put myself up as a news source. From what I understand, the court has heard from the state, and the state said they're not going to do the lottery until at least the 23rd of September. Please, if somebody's online and has better information, correct me. So I think the state is going to take a few days to circle the wagons and figure it out. But so far, the state has not made any effort to resolve any of these problems and has promised to push ahead with the lottery no matter what.
So if you're interested in being a part of an applicant meeting, it won't be live, but it would be us meeting, to craft legislation for the fall veto session, and to, if recommendations that we could get to the administration immediately that we can definitely push because we know it's legal, please feel free to share your email and we will reach out to you to open up that dialogue. So share it in the chat, and we will make sure that we stay in contact with you moving forward.
There are literally hundreds of comments coming in even now from the medical cannabis community. There are lots of questions and lots of ideas, and I think that's why we recommended to you all that you may want to have another session in a few days to solicit folks' ideas and get them sort of from the horse's mouth, as it were.
And I think that's exactly what we plan to do. I will tell you that I along with Representative Ford, are going to continue to push to have a conversation direct with the governor and the governor's staff, including Ms. Hutchinson, to try to get some answers on this. I don't know if we can legally stop this from going forward, but I think that we certainly have a right to demand some answers to see if we can get that, and certainly make sure that we don't have to have this conversation again when the next round of licenses go. I would also like to say that, if possible, maybe we can get that list of 21 expanded to a couple of those. I mean, wouldn't it be devastating if the maximum were, a perfect score is 245, am I correct in that? And if you were a company that got 244 and you missed out and you put your life savings into this, that's something that really concerns me. And maybe we can figure out a way to look at those 240, 241s, 242s, 243s, 244s, so that we can try to get it moving forward and not have it just be that way. You shouldn't be penalized if you have everything else into line and just don't have a veteran, or you have everything else into line, but your address isn't exactly right. Or you shouldn't get the points because you have somebody on there that has an address. And I think that's a big thing that we haven't touched on. The social equity addresses, they're not as social equitable as many people think when you really look into it, especially when we look outside at some of the suburban addresses that fall into those that mapping component, or some of the downtown addresses that fall into it. So we need to look at that all as a whole. We're going to come through. We definitely have to have a second conversation. We haven't I think we've just hit the surface on this, and we will continue to do this. So you're good with that.
And one thing that we have to make clear, we did get some information from legal about the Cannabis Regulation Tax Act, and it provides this. It says, the Cannabis Regulation and Tax Act provides that the final administrative decisions are subject to judicial review. Moreover, Article 15 of the Act regarding the license and regulation of dispensing organizations contain the following language: governing IDFPR's decisions made regarding those licenses. Review under administrative review law. All final administrative decisions of the department hereunder shall be subject to judicial review under the provisions of the administrative review law and all amendments and modifications thereof. That's important. And so we have to make sure that you look up that statute 410 ILCS 705 15175. I'll put it in the chat.
Representative Willis, Representative Ford, Corryn, what do we got? Are we ready to sign off for now?
Give me time to type. There's
right.
only a few numbers.
Well, we will do that. And as I said, the medical cannabis community welcomes the opportunity to have you guys back on for additional feedback sessions. We've got about 30,000 active participants that are raring to go, a built-in audience, and a level of interest that this has generated that I've not seen before.
Absolutely.
One thing, Corryn, I sent it to you. Could you send it to the group, that statute?
Yes. Yeah, I can do that. Oh,
Ms. Foreland, you had a question? You're muted, ma'am. And now you're frozen.
Okay.
There you go.
So I want to say one more thing. I think it's very important that we figure out if those, the applicants, if they're truly real social equity. Because during the process with my medical marijuana application in Missouri, I was approached from a California company, a group, with trying to utilize me as a social equity.
Ah, okay. Yes, I do believe that is definitely one of our, like I said, Representative Ford and I had 10 key questions that we put out to the governor's office that we're going to continue to press to get answered, and that was one of them for sure. And we're going to make sure that we get a satisfactory answer. You probably don't know me well, but trust me, I raised 4 kids, and they'll tell you I'm a hard ass, and I can do it for you. So.
One more thing, this is Greg speaking out to, I don't know who, was that you, Dionne, who said that you were approached? I did also receive phone calls asking for funds to get my app approved. I did receive that call and turned them down immediately. So just so you guys know that there was some deception definitely out there.
I've heard this, but people receive calls saying if you pass 50 grand, we'll get you in.
Yeah, mine was more closer to 100, but yes.
Inflation.
Yes.
Well,
that was like from a law firm or somebody that said they could work it through, or you don't want to tell us the details yet?
Yeah, right.
Yeah. That's wrong. You should not, it should not be a place where you have to hire, and this I go with on tax appeals and stuff like that. You should not have to hire a lawyer at that extent to be able to do it. Yes, a lawyer to possibly review your paperwork, that's common sense in business, but you shouldn't have to go above and beyond to that extent. And that is why, unfortunately, we're not getting the community grown businesses that we need to have continue out there. And we need to keep that out of there. So
yeah,
thanks for sharing that, Greg.
I think those people that called you, Mr. Owens, are the people that saw this as we saw it as legislators, that it is possible. I could do this for you. I could help you get a perfect score. This is what you got to do. Here are the guidelines. This is all you have to do to get a perfect score. You had the cheat sheets, you had everything. And they're just people saying, I'll do the work for you. You look like you're a perfect fit that could get a perfect score. And that's probably some of the things that you would establish, because there's people that set up businesses to write these, and they're like, we could do this. So I think that we have to really look at it and say, and if it was written right, but I think that the judging and the process was flawed because, believe it or not, I believe that because there were cheat sheets, there should have been many, many more perfect scores because they had everything that they needed to present.
But Greg, I just have a question for you. Was this a call from somebody said, I can sell you services that will help you gain an advantage? Or was there someone said, give me 50 grand and I'll give you a license?
It was more so like you're good going forward.
So the second, not the first.
Correct.
Wow. Whew. Hopefully they called you anonymously.
They did.
So if Leader Willis and Representative.
Mark, excuse me 1 second. But for us, that wasn't even a thought, only because we have we do have a my aunt is a grant writer or application writer in cannabis, and so for her it was, I'm going to do this for the family, I'm going to do this for our friends and those close to us, so that we can begin generational wealth and help those close to us, immediate family, immediate friends, and so on and so forth, to get or to obtain that American dream that we've all been told that we could obtain. We chose the name 40 Acres and a Mule primarily to say we didn't get it the first time. We were offered that same 40 acres and a mule almost 100 and some years ago now, and we're still waiting. So, and so that's just where I'm going to end for today. Thank you.
Leader Willis, Representative Ford, if you are ready to wrap up, I think we'll call it a day and schedule another session for whenever you're ready, next week or this week or whatever. Again, you have a built-in audience whenever you want it. Corryn, are we all set?
Yes, absolutely. I did include my email in there. I know that Abraham threw in information as well. We have taken down as many questions that we weren't able to get to, and a lot of really specific questions. We'll sit down with our legislators and see what we can go through, as well as hopefully getting some answers from the meetings that you guys will have in the future. And we will absolutely be doing an event like this again. We want everyone to have the chance to speak to this, and we want to try to add some transparency to this process if we can. So we can volley to Abraham for an outro as well.
Well, and thank you, everybody. I'm sorry you all got screwed. And I think everybody on this meeting intends to try to help, and it's good to have champions. Thank you, Leader Willis and Representative Ford.
It's our pleasure. Thank you all. We'll hear from you soon. Take care. La Shawn, any farewells?
No, thank you so much. I think we've heard, and we will continue to hear from them. Thank you so much.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye,
you all
everybody.
for attending. Hope you all have a good rest of your day. Talk to you soon.
Bye-bye.